Welcome to the Day 8 video, which is section 5.3, Solving Quadratic Equations by Factoring. So before this, we solved quadratic equations by graphing. So we graphed the parabola and saw where it crossed the x-axis. Now we're going to factor. Today we're just going to review factoring, and then in tomorrow's video we're actually going to solve by factoring. So first, a review of the first three methods that we did before the chapter. First we did GCF. So looking at the first example, I need to look, what number goes into both 6 and 9? The biggest number is a 3. I then have x cubed and x. I always have to take out the lowest term, so I'm going to take out an x. And then I have y and y to the fourth. The lowest term is y. Okay, so I'm going to factor out a 3xy, that's the GCF. Then if I had 6 and I divided it by 3, I get 2. The original had x to the third, but I factored out an x, so I'm left with x squared. I had a y, but I factored it out, so that's it. Now I'm subtracting. 9 divided by 3 is 3. I had an x, I took out an x, so there's no more x's. I had y to the fourth, I took out one y, so this is y to the third. And that's the final answer. Okay, I'm going to leave that second example for you to do. So let's go down to product sum. I'm looking for two numbers whose product is 15, so who multiply to 15, and whose sum is negative 16. So add to be negative 16. You should recognize right off the bat that that's negative 15 and positive 1. Negative 1, sorry. Negative 15 and negative 1 multiply to positive 15 and add to be negative 16. So I get x subtract 15, x subtract 1. And that could be in the reverse order. Okay, and then difference of squares. So difference means subtracting, and then perfect squares. 4 is 2 times 2, x squared is x multiplied by x, and 25 is 5 multiplied by 5. So this factors into 2x and 2x, because that multiplies to give me 4x squared. 5 and 5, that multiplies to be 25. 1 addition and 1 subtraction. Okay, right now pause the video and you try the next three on your own, please. Okay, you should have taken the time to do this one on your own. Looking at the first GCF problem, 12 and 2, the GCF is 2. Okay, my first term has an m, my second term has no m, so I cannot factor out any m's. And then I have an n squared and an n. I have to take out the lowest term, so I'm going to take out an n. Okay, now what's left? 12 divided by 2 is 6. I still have that m. I had n squared. I took out one n, so that leaves one n. 2n, I took out a 2n. I still need to leave a 1. It's like a placeholder. And that should have been the final answer. If I were to multiply that 2n in, I would end up with the same polynomial. Okay, product sum, two numbers that multiply to 72 and add to be positive 1. That's what's in front of the m. Hopefully we know that's positive 9 and negative 8. And it could be in the reverse order. And then my difference of squares. Okay, 25 is 5 multiplied by 5. X to the fourth is x squared and x squared. 16 is 4 and 4. Y squared is y and y. 1 positive, 1 negative. And again, the positive and negative could be in the other order. Okay, so that should have been a review. These are the three main types of factoring. As you need to remember, we always start with GCF. Always, always, always start with GCF. And then look to see if it's product sum or difference of squares. Okay, so what we're doing today is the new stuff. This is more product sum. It's split the middle. So looking at the product sum examples we had above, we have 1x squared, 1m squared. Now this next example, we have 3x squared, which is why we need to split the middle. So if the leading coefficient is not 1, so in this case it's 3, you need to split the middle. So the first thing that you do is multiply a and c, and I get negative 12. Now I need two numbers whose product is negative 12 and whose sum is negative 11. Well, that's negative 12 and positive 1. Okay, this is called split the middle because I'm splitting my middle term. So I still have 3x squared, and I still have negative 4. But instead of negative 11x, I'm going to write it as negative 12x plus 1x. Okay, so negative 12 add 1 is negative 11, and it multiplies to be negative 12. Now I'm going to put a line down the middle and factor the left side and factor the right side. I'm going to factor out the GCF. The GCF of 3x squared minus 12x is 3x. I'm left with x subtract 4. On the right side, I'm going to factor out a 1, and I'm left with x minus 4. If I did this correctly, my two sets of parentheses should match. And they do in this case, which means I'm on the right track. So the last step to factoring is writing that set of parentheses that we see twice, so the x minus 4, and then what we factored out. So 3x add 1. And that's my final answer. Now let's do one more example before you do one on your own. So let's look at the second example, the one to the right. So we have 6y squared, subtract 23y, add 20. Our leading coefficient is 6. It's not a 1, so we need to split the middle. I'm going to multiply 6 and 20. I get 120. Now I'm looking for the two numbers that multiply to 120, but add to be 23. Okay, I don't know those off the top of my head, so I'm going to start writing some down. I have 12 and 10. Those don't add to be 23. I have 2 and 60. Those definitely don't add. I have 3 and 40. That's not either. 4 and 30. It's getting closer. 5. Okay. Well, that one is a little more difficult. 5 goes into, or 10 goes into 120 12 times, which means 5 goes in 24 times. 6 and 20. 7 doesn't go in. 8. 8 goes in. It's 8 and 15. Okay, so this is it. 8 and 15 are going to add to be negative 23. So it's okay if you couldn't do that one off the top of your head. If you would have needed a calculator, that's okay. So remember that this is called split the middle because I want to rewrite my middle term. So I'm going to keep my 6y squared, and I'm going to keep my positive 20, but the negative 23y becomes negative 8y, subtract 15y. Okay, now negative 8 and negative 15 multiplies to be 120, so that's good, and they add to be negative 23, so that's good also. So now I need to split the middle. I need to factor. My GCF on the right side, well, the greatest common factor of 6 and 8 is 2, and they both have a y. So I'm left with 3y subtract 4. On the right side, the GCF of negative 15 and positive 20 is going to be 5. Only one has a y, though, so I can't factor out a y. This leaves me negative 3y add 4. Okay, I told you in the first example of split the middle that our parentheses need to match. In this case, I have 3y minus 4, and I have negative 3y plus 4. So they do not match. Okay, they're the same numbers, but opposite signs. So when I took out a positive 5, I really should have taken out a negative 5. If I take out a negative 5, this becomes positive 3 and negative 4, which is what I wanted. Okay, now my sets of parentheses match, so I'm going to rewrite that set, 3y subtract 4, and then I'm going to write what I factored out, which is the 2y subtract 5. So 2y subtract 5. And that is my final answer. Now I've said before that we could check this by multiplying it out, so let's actually do that. It's an extra step, but it's going to help us check our answer. So 3y subtract 4, I'm going to multiply by 2y subtract 5. This becomes 6y squared. This becomes negative 15y. This becomes negative 8y. And negative 4 and negative 5 becomes 20. And you'll notice that that is going to simplify to that one, to what we originally had. So some of your teachers call this FOIL. It's really multiplying binomials. So that's always a good way to check your answer. Okay, you are going to do example 3 on your own, please. My hint to you is make sure that you take the GCF out first. So pause the video, try example 3, and then come back when you are finished, please. Okay, so the GCF in this case, I have x cubed, x squared, and x. So I'm going to factor out an x. Okay, then I have -2, 21, and -27. Those do not have any common number that I can factor out. So I'm left with -2x squared, add 21x, subtract 27. Now I can split the middle. So I'm going to multiply -2 and -27, I get positive 54. So I need to know the two numbers that multiply to positive 54, but that are going to add to be 21. Okay, so I'm going to start writing down factors of 54. 2 and 27. 9 and 6. 3 and 18. 4 doesn't go in. 5 doesn't go in. 6 we already did. Okay, so do any of these add to be the 21x that we want? Well, 3 and 18 is going to add to be 21 and multiply to 54. So that's what we want. So I'm going to keep this x outside. I have my -2x squared and my -27, which stay the same. That 21x now is going to be written as positive 3x and positive 18x. Okay, so positive 3, positive 18, that adds to be 21, and it multiplies to be 54. So now I'm going to split down the middle. On the left side, all I can factor out is an x, and I end up with -2x add 3. On the right side, what goes into 18 and 27? Well, 9 goes into both, so that's going to leave me with 2x subtract 3. Okay, again I have this issue where my parentheses don't match. They're a difference of a sign. So in the second set, I'm going to factor out a -9 instead. That'll leave me with a -x and a positive 3, which is what I need. Okay, the parentheses that's doubled is the -2x add 3. And then what I factored out was x subtract 9. And I have to make sure that I bring down that GCF and put it out in front from before. So that one was trickier because of the negative out in front, but hopefully you got it right. Okay, pause the video now and try example 4. I'm going to again tell you, your life is going to be a lot easier if you take out the GCF. So start by taking out a GCF. Good luck. Okay, so hopefully you took a chance to try this one on your own. Out of 24, 16, and 30, I can factor out a 2. I can't factor out a 4 because 30 is not divisible by 4. Because I have -24, I'm going to factor out a -2. So this leaves me with 12x squared subtract 8x subtract 15. Okay, next I'm going to multiply 12 and -15, and I'm going to end up with -180. So if you had to do that one with a calculator, that's okay. I need the two numbers that multiply to -180 but add to be -8. Well, the two easiest factors probably are 18 and 10, because it ends in a 0. If I make this a -18 and a +10, they will add to be -8. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite my middle term. Keep the first, sorry, this is a +12. Keep the first and the last term the same. The -8x is now -18x, add 10x. Put a line down the middle. Out of 12x squared and 18x, I can factor out a 6x. I'm left with 2x subtract 3. Out of 10x and -15, I can factor out a 5. They both don't have an x, so I can't factor out an x. This leaves me with 2x subtract 3. My parentheses match, which is good. So that's one factor. The other factor is what I took out. 6x add 5. We got to make sure we bring down that GCF. So that's the final answer. Hopefully that's what you got. If not, hopefully you now see the mistake that you made. Okay, so now if you would please flip the page. This next page is blank, page 20 is blank, so what I want you to do is factor one more. So you're going to be factoring 4x squared, subtract 7x, subtract 2. We will check this when you come to class tomorrow. Good luck.